Hey Apprenti-squad, in today's Apprenti clip, I'm going to show you the easy button for cutting perfect groove cuts every time by hand, even if you have to get it to match an exact angle that you need to match your cosplay. Stay tuned. Alright, so in a previous video, we covered groove cuts and under groove cuts. But sometimes you need to match an exact angle with the resulting efforts of your groove cuts. Like in this Darksaber, for example. You can see here I had to get the angle exactly right to match the prop. And so I had to do a groove cut right here, and you have to figure out exactly the angle to do it. I've drawn up a little example here. You do your groove cut, whether it's a groove cut or an under groove. Here I'm showing the example of it being a groove cut on the top. In your piece of foam, and then you plan on folding that up to match a certain angle, right? So here you can see this is after it's folded up, you've glued it together, and then you get your resulting angle there. So down here I have a little diagram. Now you'll remember we've also covered this on for cutting bevels. It's just going to be a little bit different, but a lot of the same principles, okay? So what you need to figure out is what is this angle that you are trying to accomplish, right? So you're going to want to figure out, first off, what is that angle that you're dealing with. You can use a protractor. Here I've got a nice digital one that's going to give me a readout. You can do it with a manual one. Right here we're sitting at, this one that I just drew is about 108 degrees, okay? So what you need to do to figure out what angle you cut these grooves at is you just simply take 180 and then you minus the degrees that you just figured out, so 108. Okay, Google, what's 180 minus 108? You can use calculators or Googles to help you out.
The answer is 72.
72, and then you're going to divide that by 2. 36 degrees for each of our grooves, okay? Now, the difference between doing a bevel cut and doing a groove cut is that you're not going to be cutting all the way through the foam. So you can see here in my diagram, this is 6mm foam in this example, and the trick I've found with groove cuts is you never want to cut below or further deeper into your foam than leaving yourself 2mm at the bottom. So in that case, that'll take us down 4mm with 6mm foam. You just want that 2mm gap to help keep your foam together, but also give you a nice, clean, crisp edge that's not too faded or too rounded on the backside of your groove cut. I've got a link in the description to a triangle calculator to help you with this part to make it super easy. But essentially all you want to do is you now know that this is 36 degrees that you want here, okay? For this half of the thing. So with the groove cut, I just split the groove in the center here. So that gives us a nice right angle to figure out how far away from our center line we have here. So we know that this is going to be 4mm deep. So this is 4, and this is 36 degrees. You pop that into your calculator, and that's going to tell you the distance that you need between here and here, okay? So then you just take that distance. You're going to mark your groove cut on your foam. We'll do that in just a second. Mark where your center of your groove needs to go, and then you just measure out this distance from that line and draw lines on either side of your groove, of your center line. Okay, so let's do that here. Let's do the example. I've got 4mm WTF What the Foam here. I highly recommend using our WTF What the Foam because it is very durable, very strong. It's going to work great for these under groove cuts. So let's say we're doing an under groove, okay, and this is the underside of my foam. So there's my line. Now, once I've done my math here, right, once I've done my calculations, I know, let's say, that I need to go out 4mm to get the angle that I want, right? So then I grab my little ruler. I'm going to measure 4mm out in a couple spots, just kind of like a little dashed line here. Now on my patterns, I do this for you, do all the math and calculate everything, figure it out. But once again, the math is not anything too complicated. You don't have to be a math major to just hop on and use the online calculator, but it does make such a huge difference. So once you have that, then you know exactly where the two sides of your groove is going to be. You have your center line. The last thing you just need to do is mark your line to make sure that you don't go too deep in your foam. What I like to do is just on either side of my piece here, I like to just kind of carry the line down like that, just right next to my line for my center line. And then I'm going to mark the depth that I need to go to, right? So with it being 4 millimeters, I don't want to go any deeper than 2 millimeters so that I still have plenty left over. So that's just going to be half of it. So I'm just mark a little crossbar halfway down in the foam there, okay? So then here comes the best part. Make sure your blade's nice and sharp. Now let me know in the comments right now if this is making sense for you guys. So I'm going to turn it right here. So hopefully you can see I've got my halfway point marked out here, and the dotted line is going to be where I'll be visually be seeing the blade cutting through, and then the tip will be meeting in the middle, okay? So I'm going to line it up on the side so that my tip is right on that crossbar in the middle, and then the edge of my blade is hitting the dotted line here. And I'm going to get my hand all set up using the hand wedge technique. For cutting bevels, you'll use the same technique here, where you kind of use your hand as a wedge to hold that exact angle, and you just kind of move your whole arm and keep your hand on the ground in this position to maintain that same angle of cut. And I'm just going to focus on the blade, top of my blade, cutting right through that dotted line, okay? So I'm just going to start pulling through, keeping my hand in its exact position, and I'm moving my whole arm, okay? All right. Then you flip it around. If you're right-handed, I like to start on the right side, pull through, and then flip it around and do the other side. If you're left-handed, just do the reverse of that. But then same thing here, right? I'm going to start, get my angle pointed down towards that center mark, get it set up, lined up, wedge position, and pull through. Okay. Now you may need to go back in and just kind of fine tune that just a little bit, just to get it to pull out cleanly. And then voila, there you go. You've got your nice groove cut. You'll be able to just glue that together and get the exact angle that you're wanting, and you'll have that nice, crisp, clean edge on the opposite side. Hopefully this made sense for you. Once again, let me know in the comments below if this was helpful for you. I hope it was. I hope it helps you to be able to up your cosplay game and get perfect groove cuts every single time, even if you're cutting by hand. Please share this with a friend if you know somebody that could use this and does a lot with EVA foam and could definitely use this trick to be able to cut their groove cuts by hand, be able to easily get the angle they need. Once again, link in the description for that calculator. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have plenty more where this came from. Please consider subscribing. We've got Apprenti clips that we come out with a couple times a week. And you guys are the best. Cosplay on, my friends. See ya. So one more time, the dog walked out.